Hello, in this second video about the Database Analyzer Pro application, I'm going to show you how you can set options to run the application the way you want it to run, and then how to run the analysis for a particular database. So I'll click on here, and that will take me straight to the main form in this particular case, and the main form initially is almost empty. You can go straight to the Browse button here, select a file for analysis, but before you do that I suggest you first go to the Settings and Options screen. And there we've got two sites of options that you can select. The top section here is about how the application itself runs. For example, if you've already seen the splash screen in the first video, if you don't want to see that in future, just let it load directly, untick that. I also showed you the welcome screen. That's the one where videos such as this are available for viewing. If you don't want to see that in the future, untick that. You can always come back to this screen later and tick this again to make them visible again if you wish to do so. The rest of these items here I will explain to you later, but I just particularly mention the show info message on browse because I'm going to show you that one in a second. The analysis, there is one required item. Every time you run the analysis, it will always collect information about each database object. You cannot untick that, it's locked. But each of the other options here, I've selected all of them at the moment, but you can deselect them all. You can choose to select individual ones, but for now I'll leave them all deselected to make things nice and quick. And let's now choose a database, and that was the information message on browse that I mentioned earlier. So it's telling you that a dialog box will now open for you to select a file, and when you do so it will open in the background using the shift key, which will bypass any startup forms or code that may run in that application. And one of the options then in the startup settings menu was to remove that here, but let's now click OK. Let's choose an application here. Let's choose this one. It's loading in the background. It's already loaded what sort of the file path and so on is, and that's it. It's done it. 4 seconds later, we've now got the objects here, and on this screen here we've got everything except that final column there. I'll tell you more about this screen later, but let me just show you about getting the object sizes here. By default, every object will be included. I can exclude all of them, in which case nothing will happen at all, or I can tick just individual ones if I wanted to, but let's again include them all. And now when I click that button here, it will now in turn export all of these objects from my external database into another temporary database, and before it does so, it will measure the size of that database, and again it will measure it after that object has been exported, so the difference will give you the estimated size of each object. So let's do that now. 25 objects, it doesn't take long. Done. Another 4 seconds, and now we've got the estimated size in kilobytes for each of those objects, and you can see one of the system tables is relatively large, another one here, table access error codes, is much larger still. The items here are a good estimate. They're never going to be exact. In some cases the total size, adding all this lot up, will be slightly less than the database size. That may indicate it needs compacting, and in other cases here, then such as here, it will be slightly larger. That's not a problem here. It's giving you an estimate. It's not meant to be exact, but it's a good estimate in most cases here. And we've got a second screen here which will tell you similar information but in a more tree view type format. Let's go back here, let's run this again, but this time I'm going to run it with all of the options selected. And you'll notice at the moment that every other option here has been disabled because it hasn't run yet, and here every option again gets except the top two here are disabled. I'll tell you more about them later, but let's just run this again. Now if I untick the show information on browse, then if I click on browse now it will go straight to the dialog box, but because I'm using the same form, and there's a particularly useful item here, that is redo analysis. So it will keep the existing file information and it will just now go through each of those in turn. It's loading it again in the background, and as each of these steps runs, it will tell you how many objects it's dealing with, which one it's up to, how long it expects the rest of that step to take in seconds, and then when we get to the end, you'll get an information screen as before. And the final step now shows how quick it is for a relatively small database like this one, 26 seconds in total. And I've got a fairly slow workstation here. Many people will find it takes much less time than that. And now you can see the same screen as before. It's included the object sizes straight away, and now all of these options have been selected here, and I'm going to tell you more about those in the next video. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.